Now that your baby is talking, you probably can't wait until he or she is using even more words to ask for things, to tell you how he feels, to name more things that she's doing, to call more people by name. So this stage of toddlerhood can be a little maddening with your baby really getting around now, but it's also a very exciting period for the development of speech and language. I'm Tara Tuck, and I help parents, preschool teachers, and all of you who care for young children to learn everything you need to know about speech and language, the most important part of child development. In this video, I'm going to tell you how you can start to really expand your toddler's vocabulary so he or she will be ready for the preschool years and then, of course, ready for learning in school. I'm a speech and language pathologist and the author of The Joy of Language, the Guide to Language and Learning for Parents and Caregivers. I've given you a link to that below. So please subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos and visit my website. As I explained in my last video, Baby's First Words, your toddler has to begin to master the sounds of speech in preparation for using real words. But here comes the fun part when you can really see growth. How quickly will she learn new words and be able to tell you what she wants and what she sees and how she feels? When will you actually be able to have a conversation with your child? Well, you'll be starting by having conversations, not just by teaching words. I know this is about vocabulary, but babies need to hear conversations in order to learn their vocabulary. So, first let's look at some typical milestones for vocabulary development. As I mentioned in the last video, you can determine whether your baby is developing the skills for learning vocabulary long before he utters his first word. 7.5-month-old babies are able to pick out individual words within a context of words, and you can see this when they turn their head when they recognize a word. At this point, they already have a receptive vocabulary. That means that they recognize and even understand some words. But they have a much greater expressive vocabulary, being able to speak those words at 24 months. You can begin testing your baby's attention to sounds and words even within the first few months. Babies who attend to words and initiate sounds early begin to use words earlier. So although your baby won't begin speaking until she's about 1 year old, she will by that time understand her receptive vocabulary will be about 50 words. Words that she hears frequently, like juice and milk, spoon, kitty, doggy, car, bath, diaper, all that. Also, at about 12 to 18 months, she'll understand that all things have a name. She'll become curious about these names also. She'll want to label everything. Of course, we're often not sure just what kids mean by what they're calling something because they sort of generalize names. For example, when she says tree, she might mean the entire tree or just the leaves. Like some children start by calling all animals doggy. That's okay. That's normal. But at 18 months, your baby should be really interested in words and should be trying many of them out. Being able to name objects and actions allows your baby to get his needs met and to experience another way of bonding with people, real communication. That's why a vocabulary delay at 18 to 24 months can actually lead to behavioral or emotional problems because of the frustration experienced by children not being able to communicate their needs and feelings in a socially appropriate way through oral language. So learning to use words that are important to him is actually a crucial part of his social emotional development. Then between 24 and 36 months, you'll notice quite a spurt in the way your child expresses herself. 3-year-olds can talk about past and future and have respectable conversations using more than 1,000 words and understanding many more. They also use a variety of nouns and verbs as well as descriptive words, which seem quite sophisticated for their age. I mean, words like touch, taste, know, think, now, later, many, pretzel, elephant, reindeer. And we know that the quantity of spoken language, the richness of vocabulary, and the complexity of sentences of mothers and fathers and other caregivers affects the rate at which children learn words. Remember that. When children are provided with fewer language and literacy supports, including complex language in their environment, there's a tremendous gap in their word knowledge. It's called, in fact, the 30 million word gap, from a study that showed that many children enter school hearing as many as 30 million fewer words than other children. So they enter school already lacking in the skills to understand what's being taught to them. It's important that you talk with your little ones using real sentences and a variety of words. This also affects their cognitive ability, their thinking, their intelligence. It's that important. So the more words your baby hears, the more she'll learn. Don't worry that your baby won't understand you. She'll eventually understand everything if that's what she hears. There's a program that might interest you called the 3 T's Initiative. It's a tool for you to make the most of every interaction with your child. The 3 T's stand for tune in, talk more, and take turns. I've included a link to some information about this and how to use this technique right below this video. So some people wonder what kind of talking or conversations they should be having with their little ones. First, while your child is still a baby, you can use infant-directed speech, which is a type of speech that's very sing-songy and somewhat high-pitched. It sounds something like babies would like to listen to. So when caregivers use infant-directed speech, it lets babies know that this message is for them and that this is their special time to learn language and to have a close interaction and communication with a caring adult. For instance, if Aunt Martha and baby Kevin, say an 18 to 24-month-old, are looking through a picture book together, the conversation might go something like this. Aunt Martha says, "Oh, look what the bunny is doing." And Kevin says, "Bunny?" Aunt Martha says, "Yes, the bunny is going to hop over the little fence to get the carrots." And Kevin says, "Hop." And Aunt Martha says, "That's right, hop. Look at him hop over the fence. He wants to eat those carrots." Did you notice the sing-songy expression? Aunt Martha was using it because prosody, the sing-songy aspects of speech, is so important for a child learning language. But she also used good sentences and expanded upon Kevin's one-word responses. I'll talk more about this in my video on syntax, which is sentence formulation, how we make up sentences and how all that works. Now, another way that infants learn meaning and develop vocabulary is in giving what we call joint attention to objects with an adult. So when you both look at the same object and you comment on it, an important part of language learning is being developed, sort of practice with shared experiences. This can also be done while playing together using just sounds. For example, if you or your baby knocks over some blocks, you can exclaim, "Uh-oh!" Or if you put too much baby food on the spoon, you might remark, "Oh my goodness, too much!" So joint attention actually involves a number of steps. Following the child's focus, what's he looking at? Initiating episodes of joint attention, so pointing out things that he might be interested in, and engaging in turn taking. You say something, then he says something. For example, if Susie is playing with her doll, Mommy might say, "Oh, you're holding Kathy so nicely." And Susie says, "Hold Kathy." And Mama says, "Yes, can you rock Kathy?" And Susie says, "What, Kathy?" And Mommy says, "That's right, she loves you rocking her like that. And you might even put her to sleep." Susie says, "Sleep?" And Mommy says, "Yes, Susie, you're rocking Kathy to sleep." So, in this conversation, Susie is learning the words hold, rock, and sleep through joint attention. Both Susie and Mommy are focusing on the doll. I just mentioned following the baby's lead. When parents follow the baby's lead at 9 months, their babies at 13 months have greater receptive vocabularies. But when parents don't attend to what interests baby, parents who change the topic, baby's vocabulary at 13 months is smaller. Isn't that interesting? So what I'm saying is it's so important for parents and caregivers to talk to the baby throughout the day and evening. While getting dinner ready, Mother might comment, "Mommy's got to peel the potatoes. Look at the potato, Rebecca. I wonder how many I should make. I wonder if Daddy's going to be really hungry tonight. I better make an extra one just in case. I can peel them all and then keep them in this pot of water till Daddy gets home. Then we'll be all set to cook everything." Isn't that a good idea? So how will you know what your baby is interested in? Well, just watch her. She'll actually have a style of interest that you can be aware of. In fact, there are 2 major styles of vocabulary learners: children whose first words are mostly labels of things like nouns, like juice and doggy. And then there are children whose first words are action words, verbs like bye-bye and up. So notice your child's first words and continue to add to this repertoire. So whichever type of vocabulary learner your child is, be observant about his interests. If he gravitates toward action and motion, play things like This Little Piggy and Tickle Tickle and Whoopsie Daisy and All Gone and Peekaboo. But if he's more of a noun lover, then you can play things like Where's Your Chin? Or What's this? Either is fine. You'll figure it out by watching your baby and letting him express himself in his own style. And this will make talking fun for your baby. But for now, here are some ideas for you in addition to what I've just explained about vocabulary. You can modify part of a familiar story to encourage listening and memory, so you can make little changes and then have a surprised expression on your face. And you can also ask, is that right? This will really help with his or her listening skills. You can also, during the day, describe what's happening now, what your child is doing and what you're doing. Just talk it out. Narrate what's happening, using all the words for objects and actions in your phrases and sentences. Also, expand your toddler's vocabulary by using synonyms. Huge instead of big, delicious instead of good, thrilled instead of happy. And you can explain that thrilled is another word that means happy. So use synonyms, use bigger words, teach vocabulary, and just explain it to your child. Also, point out differences in size, weight, color, and other characteristics to build vocabulary, noticing small differences, like this seems to be a little bigger than that one. Remember that young children often use the same word for lots of things, so this will show them that there are shades of meaning and that there are lots of different words that we can use. Ask her to sort objects, like let's put the red ones here and the blue ones there. Can you put all the different birds in the box? Children learn how to think about objects by categorizing them. So this is really important, doing category games with your child. Also, give your child clues about objects new to her vocabulary. It's the sweet liquid that we pour over our pancakes. What do you think it is? And then you can even ask, what other sweet liquids can you think of? And this expanding his vocabulary. Now, please write to me in the comments below. Ask me questions, give me suggestions. Also, please subscribe to my channel and visit my website, thejoyoflanguage.com, and tell your friends, relatives, preschool teachers, babysitters about my book, and of course, about my videos. And I'll see you in the next one.